welcome to another episode of Cowboy Chats.
Cowboy Chats is a channel to keep the spirit of the American West alive. To talk to modern day cowboys, legendary cowboys, and anybody in between to keep the cowboy tradition and values and the Western way of life alive and well.
So a little bit about my training program here. I try to keep between 10 and 12 training horses in all the time, year round. And then I have a few of my own too. This one right here is a 3-year-old stud colt by Dash to Fame. He's just coming around, learning, getting patterned, and he's showing a lot of potential, so we're really excited for him. But mostly what I do is start colts and then start horses on the barrel pattern. I do have 2 or 3 futurity horses for next year. He might be one of them, but where he's only 3, he could run as a 4-year-old next year or as a 5-year-old. So we're just kind of letting him tell us what he wants. And then I have 2 other 4-year-olds that will run next year. As far as how we operate, how often they get rode, we ride 5 days a week, guaranteed to all my clients. Most Saturdays I ride as well, but it just depends on if I'm at a rodeo, at a jackpot, or whatever we have going on. But I guarantee that they get rode 5 days a week. If I'm out of town for some reason for a futurity or a rodeo or whatnot, then I have an awesome helper Larry too that helps me keep things running while I'm away. So that's kind of how we work around here. I make sure that all the horses get fed 2 to 3 times a day. Lots of nice deep shavings in their stalls. Turn out as much as I can, and then they're always exercised every day, no matter what. Stalls are cleaned every day. Nice, clean facility. So I don't settle for mediocrity. So that's just kind of how I work. And now you get to see me on this colt in just a minute.
All right, so we're super excited to get to see you ride and work a little bit with this youngster, Mr. Money, and just get on and do your thing. Just whatever you do to warm him up and kind of put him through the paces, work him a little bit, and we'll catch some of that.
Sounds good.
So now Grandpa would whoop your ass for not putting that pin in a hole.
What? Oh, on the cinch? Probably. Hey, Larry.
There's a reason for pins and a reason for holes.
Right? I always cowboy.
No, my grandpa would whip your ass for not having.
Yeah.
All right, Bryan. Just for the sake of people watching this who don't know anything, and don't know what goes on or why we use what bits we use and all that, all the stuff on him. You know, I know what it is. You know what it is, but a lot of people watching probably don't. So why don't you run through, using a ring snaffle and why you like him, and you can tell them about your running martingale and the difference between a running martingale, a standing martingale, and a tie down. Because I'm sure with your cow horses, you use a tie down. Same with roping, and it might even be something, even with a barrel horse, might run with a tie down, and then the use of a running martingale.
Okay. So
show them what.
Okay. So this bit that I have him in today is just an O-ring snaffle. You can see that it's a twisted wire mouthpiece and it's broken, so it's a 3-piece. Most of my bits are the 3-piece dog bone. I feel like they lay across their tongue a little bit more even and put the even pressure on their mouth. So, most of my bits have the same exact mouthpiece. It's just what my hands like. Everyone's different. Some people like, a shank or a port or whatever. There's tons of different bits. But this is what I like to ride all my colts in. For the most part, when I start horses, I start them in a halter or a Boselle. Then I move them to a D-ring snaffle, and then I move them to this O-ring snaffle. As far as this right here, this is called a running martingale. You can see it goes around his neck, and then a strap goes through to the cinch like the breast collar would hook up. Then it has these rings that run here that you run your split reins through. I really like the way that a martingale feels to get a horse collected, to help their head set a little bit more. If he raises his head right here and I pull back on the rein or pull him down, this ring is going to catch him right there and just remind him to bring his head down. It's not like a tie down. A tie down is when they'll have a noseband across their nose and a strap that goes back to the cinch, and that holds their head down. It doesn't have any give in it. And so when I'm teaching them, I like to have a martingale because it gives them the chance to do it correct first. If they don't do it correct, then it'll catch them, and then that will correct your problem as far as headset and collection. So
beautiful.
this is a drill that I learned from a fellow trainer of mine when I went to one of her clinics. Basically, all you do is you'll set up a square with cones, and then I'll demonstrate it too so you can see. But all you're going to do is trot around the square, and then a couple strides before the cone, you're going to relax your body and ask your horse to collect and slow his feet down, and then you're just going to pick them up and move them on to the next cone. So what this does is it helps them slow their feet down. This is helpful for barrel horses because if they run into a barrel at full speed and don't slow their feet down, they're going to face plant. And so you have to teach them, go up into your turn, collect your body, slow your feet down, and then get around the barrel. So this is a drill that really helps that. It helps with collection, slowing their feet down, and then it also helps with having them keep their shoulder picked up and then moving out with forward motion. So I'll demonstrate kind of how that works.
No comments from the peanut gallery.
Helps with your straight lines to your barrels. It helps with momentum coming out of your turns once their shoulder is picked up. And then it helps with all of those other things as well. One of the most important things that needs to happen if you send a horse to a trainer or you're a trainer yourself, all of the work that the trainer puts in on the horse is not going to do anything if the owner doesn't put in the work as well. So one of the biggest pieces of my training program has to do with the horse comes to me, I figure out the horse, I get them working, I put in the time, I put in the consistency. When they go home, they have to have that same thing. The owner has to ride them. The owner has to put in the work, the consistency. And when a horse comes into my program, they get rode, they get trained correctly, and they go home. To me, part of the job is getting the horse and their owner on the same page. So I think that's an important thing. If you or someone you know is sending a horse to a trainer or you're a trainer yourself, the biggest thing that's going to make your horses that come out of your program look the best and be the best experience for the owner so you get more referrals for your business is making sure that when the horse goes home, you, the horse, and the owner are all on the same page.
All right, Bryan, so I'm curious, what do you look for in a barrel horse? What's conformation or size, height, speed, temperament, all those things? Is there a specific thing you look for in a barrel horse? And then what do you look for in a calf horse? What do you look for in a team roping horse? Are some of them the same or some that you like or prefer differently? Go ahead.
So I think the most important thing for a horse that's going into any discipline is having a sound mind. If they don't have a sound mind, but they have all the ability in the world, they have the most perfect legs, they have the most perfect shoulder angles, they have a great strong hip, but they have a psychotic mind, it's probably not going to end well. So that's the thing that I look at first when I'm looking for a prospect to come into my program, whether I'm buying it or whether I'm training it for someone. As far as the barrel horses go, I like a good strong hip so that they can really get down in their turns and power out of their turns. For me personally, a lot of people like their hocks more upright, not quite like a halter horse would like, but a little bit more. I actually like their hocks set under their body at a pretty good angle. To me, that helps them to be able to engage their hindquarter more easily and also get down in their turns, and then that big strong hip will help them power out. Another very important thing for any prospect is good strong legs, good bone, and of course great feet. So, there's a lot of bloodlines out there that throw a really capable horse, but might not have the best legs or the best feet. They might have a great futurity year. They might last a year. Sometimes they might last 20 years. But if you pick a horse with the correct conformation, good strong legs, and great feet, they're probably going to last you quite a while and have a really successful career. Another thing you can look at that my dad and my grandpa always taught me when looking for fast and capable prospects is a short back and a long underline. So that's important. If horses get too long of back, they're more prone to back issues. And then that also shows and has been proven that the horses with the short backs and the long underlines have a bigger stride and a more powerful stride. So that's important to me when looking for a prospect. Another thing you can look at is their shoulder angle. If their shoulder's too upright, how does that leg come out of the shoulder and move? Do they reach really well? And that's another thing that's important to me, is watching them move. How do they move their legs? Do they knock their front legs together? Do they reach up and hit their front legs with their hinds? So when you're searching for a prospect, make sure you go with the correct conformation, a sound mind, a horse that's very trainable, and also a horse that has a work ethic. Because if they don't have a work ethic and don't want to work with you, there's no way that you can train that into them. The horse has to have that.
So a lot of times you're going to look for heart along with that sound mind.
Right.
And just so you know, ladies, Bryan is single, and he looks for the same things in a prospect that he might date. So if you
You're
don't
right.
have a sound mind, don't bother him. Who is your favorite cowboy, old-time cowboy? Could be a rodeo guy, a ranch guy, your grandpa, your dad, your aunt, whoever. Just who's your favorite cowboy?
I think that my favorite cowboy is any horseman that treats the horse with respect, trains them correctly, makes a horse respect them. I have a lot of people that I look up to. My dad's a big influence. My grandpa's a big influence. One of my favorite rodeo guys is Tyson Durfee. I'm in his mentorship group, and I learned so much from him. He has a great mindset. He always puts God and his family first, and I think that's important to anyone's career. So I would say any cowboy, or my favorite cowboy is any horseman, mainly my dad, my grandpa. Tyson Durfee's a great one, and really anyone that furthers the sport and furthers the lifestyle, I think is a great cowboy in my mind.
Fantastic. Who's your favorite movie cowboy?
My favorite movie cowboy would have to be John Wayne, because I didn't know that there were any other movie cowboys than John Wayne.
All right, that's a good one. Who do you think's the greatest barrel racer, since you do barrel racing? I'm gonna stick on that one. Who do you think's the greatest barrel racer ever?
The greatest barrel racer ever, that's a tough one. So I have a couple favorites. I'm going to narrow it down to a few. One of my favorite rodeo barrel racers is Sherry Servey. She always has really quiet hands, a really quiet seat, and all of her horses seem that they have the correct foundation on them before they go to the barrels. From at least what you see on social media and TV, they seem all really happy. They seem really sane, and so I think that's a big part of it in that. So I really look up to Sherry Servey in that way. Another one of my favorite trainers to watch is Lance Graves. He's based out of Oklahoma. I was lucky enough to go ride with him for a week, and I learned more in that week than I think I ever have in my life. He's able to show trainers and show riders how to handle their horse the best, how to keep their horses sound, but train them competitively. So I would have to say Lance Graves and Sherry Servey are my two favorite barrel racers.
No love for Charmaine James, huh?
She's awesome. But how can you narrow it down? Come on.
Yeah, but she didn't even get an honorable mention. You didn't even throw her in there. Man, she's like the Donnie Gay of bull riding. Nobody ever mentions Donnie Gay either. Who's your favorite calf roper?
I would have to say my favorite calf roper is Tyson Durfee again. I just really like the way that he has gone about his life and his career. He came from really humble beginnings, but he didn't let that stop him. He kept moving forward in his career, made it to the top, and has stayed there for several years. And I just really like the way that he operates, treats his horses, rides, all of his techniques that I've learned from him. So I would have to say that Tyson Durfee is my favorite calf roper.
All right.
Like, subscribe so you can catch all the videos we got coming up. And we'll see you down the trail. Keep your guns oiled, powder dry.